for revelation. It literally means to unveil, to reveal. So as a building, big part of it dates from the 17th century, and it was built around the cave that we're going to be visiting. This is the old entrance to the monastery. Above the entrance you can see a mosaic of St. John standing to the right, dictating to a young man, a pupil who, according to tradition, was exiled here with John. The young man's name was Prochoros. So we believe he worked a bit like an assistant to John. So that's why we see John dictating to him. And whenever we see St. John depicted on an image in Patmos, we don't see him as a young man, the way we usually see him, by the side of the cross. We see him as an older man, because that's the age we believe he must have been when he was on the island, when he was exiled here. But going back a little bit in time, which John are we talking about? There are 5 in the New Testament, aren't there? So it can get a bit confusing. But we're talking about the John who was born in the town of Bethsaida, the son of Zebedee and Salome, and with his brother James, he was a fisherman in the Lake of Galilee. According to tradition, at first, they were the disciples of St. John the Baptist. It's later they met Christ, became Christ's disciples, and John was Christ's youngest and most beloved pupil, to whom Christ entrusted his mother when he was on the cross. He helped spread his teacher's word and was the heart of the church in Ephesus. And as we said, in the year 95, the Roman Emperor Domitian exiled St. John from Ephesus here to Patmos. And that was a common punishment in Roman times. It usually lasted for as long as the exile's life. So St. John and Prochorus came here and they thought they were here for good. But in the year 96, Domitian, who had exiled John, was assassinated. He was murdered. So there was a new emperor then, and he was more favorable towards Christians. So he called back from the island those who had been exiled. So St. John, only after about 18 months of being here, was able to return to Ephesus. And that's what he did. He went back where he continued his work. And when he was too old to preach, he would just say, "My children, love one another." And he's known as the Apostle of Love. And he passed away in Ephesus. The tradition is at around the age of 100, the only one of the 12 apostles who did not die a martyr's death. And his tomb is in Ephesus. However, it's an empty tomb. The Orthodox tradition is that he was lifted up to heaven. We celebrate this on the 26th of September, which is a big celebration for Patmos. Schools are out, so the kids love it too. Now, what St. John is dictating to Prochorus there is not the book of Revelation as we would expect. What Prochorus is writing is "En archi inou logos." In the beginning was the Word. And this is how the gospel begins. So this is to show the predominant Christian belief that the same John who wrote the gospel is the same with the John who wrote the book of Revelation. The St. John the divine, the apostle, the theologian is the same as St. John the evangelist. It's not to show that we believe he wrote the gospel here. Most probably he wrote it in Ephesus. That's where he spent more time. That's where he wrote the 3 epistles. But we are, as we said, absolutely sure that he received the vision of the revelation because he mentions, "I was on the island of Patmos." So we said the cave we're going to visit is a traditional site, but because of its importance as a pilgrimage site throughout the centuries to all Christian denominations, you'll see a little sign there by UNESCO. It's a World Heritage Site, so it's a preserved site. Now, you might be able to hear some boys playing up there. That's because there's a school exactly above. It's a religious school, so it has the subjects you'd expect a secondary school to have, but it gives emphasis on religious studies also. Byzantine music is also taught there, Byzantine iconography, so obviously they're on their break now, playing ball.